you now heard all about food and beverage, but there's a department here that doesn't have a title. It's almost everything. It's the everything job, I'd say we call it. And up until now, we haven't had a chance to bring in Steve Matlaga, who's the big kahuna on the island, the chief operating officer, because he's been too busy running around getting things ready. But you know, we've heard a lot of comments, and people ask a lot of questions about what people do on the island. And it's impossible to answer that question because there isn't 2 days that are alike. Every single day is different. Every day has its challenges. Every day has its problems and such as we deal with. Every day Stephanie will give me a call and say, we've had this question, we've had that question. But the one person that I guess has the most difficult job title is the person that has to put all this together, keep it together, keep the staff together, and become the glue of the island, so to speak. And it's more or less the unsung hero of the island because unlike a particular department, it's easy to identify if Carrie does well in this bar, all the accomplishments, if Stephanie does well, but they get all the credit and they deserve the credit. But the person that really has to be the person that pulls it all together is Steve. And today I wanted him to join us because we've interviewed so many different people and we get an update from so many people. But what I have to ask Steve is not specific because, again, I have no idea what you do. And we still don't figure it out, but it's okay, we have fun talking about it. But on a serious note, we welcome you, Steve. This is a very tough group between Stephanie and I. You know, you're not on your honeymoon anymore. After 4 years, you've had your honeymoon.
No.
And we know there's no chance of that. And I know you take a lot of heat when things go wrong, and you get very little credit when things go right. But we do want to thank you for what you have accomplished, because I will tell you, and the island has said this to us numerous times, this has probably been the most tumultuous period of time any business could have ever gone through. And yet this island has not missed a beat. It has continued to go. Our people have been safe. Our residents have all been happy. We've opened up gradually, but under the strictest protocols. And for that, I thank you. So the question I have for you first and foremost is, how did you deal with this when it first hit us? What were your thoughts on how to plan for this? Because obviously something like this is not in any of our resumes. So talk to me from just a generalized standpoint. You had a phenomenal team. What was your immediate reaction, and how did you approach putting this all together under totally new normals?
Well, I appreciate that question, but first of all, I just want to thank you and Stephanie for the interviews that you've had with the rest of the staff. I think that it's been very informative for the community, and it's given the staff an opportunity to be personal and explain their roles and the things that they're addressing on a daily basis, because as you pointed out, they are on the front lines, right? And you're right. My first role is in support of them. And so as this rolled out in early March, the first things that we really focused on were, how are we going to communicate this? How are we going to be safe about this? And how are we going to make sure that everybody knows their roles and their responsibilities? And then in many conversations with you, we had a genuine care and concern, not only how to maintain the safety of the staff that were going to stay on property every day, predominantly the security team, but we had a genuine concern for those whose jobs were affected by the closing of the restaurant and the spa and so on and so forth. And so, you know, I am blessed that I have a great team of leaders in the various departments. I am blessed that I have a Vice President of Operations in Deborah that can take information and communicate it in a timely and effective fashion to the staff. And then we have Stephanie, of course, that does and has really stepped up her game, you know, in communicating with the residents, because each resident gets their communication in a different manner. And so sometimes it's person-to-person communication, because some people don't have email and they don't watch YouTube or social media or whatnot. So for us, the most important thing first was, okay, how do we get supplies? You know, food and beverages, we're going to be continuing with delivery, and so now how do we go out and get supplies, because everybody else is going to think the same thing? How do we get sanitizers? How do we get disinfectants? How do we get masks? And everywhere we turned from time to time, there were good deals, there were no deals, or there were people from price gouging. And so we reached out to all of our vendors that we have relationships with, and thank goodness. And a lot of them came through on sanitizer, and we were able to distribute some of that excess that we had to the buildings and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it was really powwows with the leadership and the directors. And then I don't want to understate or not represent properly how much the relationship between you and I on a daily, twice daily basis, just partnering on things, both from a political perspective and from an operational perspective, to make sure that the right things are having. And it's not just about my leadership, it's about our leadership. Because as my wife reminds me all the time, 2 heads are better than 1. And if you are both alike, then one of you is unnecessary. And so the diversity of our team and the way that they were coming from the different perspectives, and really, more than anything, their personal commitment, their personal energy, and their personal passion to serve the community and do what's right for the people around them, I think that was one of the things that continues to inspire me on a daily basis. And that's it in a nutshell, is that we've really galvanized as a team. I thank the community for supporting us. I thank the board for allowing us to do our job and supporting us in doing our job. And I pray that we don't relax, because in the current environment, it's just shown that we have to maintain our vigilance.
Thank you. To me, probably the most amazing thing that I've seen happen on the island, and Stephanie and I have been talking about this, is we're getting a lot of calls, Stephanie gets them mostly, about how are we planning our future with such uncertainty? How do we plan our capital improvements? How do we plan the projects? We went through that enormous strategic planning shops. We had the meetings, we had conversations about it. Stephanie put together all those great questionnaires that went out to the island. We got direction what to do, and then the pandemic hit. So I guess to go back to all of those answers that we got from the reports, what have you done to continue now and to further our strategic planning projects and the capital projects? Because I do know behind the scenes, you and your teams and you and the committees have been working diligently. And I guess, Stephanie, you've had a lot of people asking what's happening with the gate, the country club here, the island club, the pool. So why don't you give us a little idea about what has been going on behind the scenes in anticipation of our capital projects moving forward?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And so what we did was we basically updated our 3-year capital plan. And the one thing that we've learned in this business, whether it's a hurricane or a pandemic or other things that happen, you have to be able to turn on a dime. And so we stepped back and looked at the priorities that we had scheduled for this year. And of course, the security exit gate moved up to the top of the list so we could control access and manage access to the community, provide better safety, provide better security, and so on and so forth. The resident gate project is still in the works, and we're still trying to get some things relative to permitting going on that. But it also gave us an opportunity to look at parts of our business that were not necessarily working into how they fit into the overall plan. And that's where we discussed this idea about how can we use the resources of the island shop better, and then look at what was in our strategic plan about the old island shop and that people liked. And that's what brought back the discussion about how do we do this, because it would be of more service to the residents than some of the boutique items that we were doing down there. So as a result of that, we've modified our behavior, and we're working very hard. And you said Robert's been here one month and he's past his honeymoon. Well, after 1 week, I was sitting down with him and working on the deli concept. So, and as with you, and so that's really, really very important to us. And I think that the other thing is that we were on the fast track to the Island Club. And so now this has allowed us to take a step back and say, did the concept that we have fit right? How is the future changing relative to social distancing and the way food and beverage happens and so on and so forth? And so we know that that is pushed out a little further, and it's allowed us to deal with some of these projects that are going to affect us better in the near term. Along with the deli project, we're also looking at how the outside seating on the tennis terrace can be improved. It's no secret that the upstairs grill, the outside terrace, is an area that's desired because it's outside. It's healthier to be outside. So we're looking, as we expand or grow this deli concept, how we can improve that tennis terrace area with some better seating for people that just want to dine and socialize and have a beverage out there.
So to go back to my question, then to be more specific, from what I'm hearing, you're working on the deli concept, and that's in the near term? Would you say hopefully by the fall that will be open?
Yeah, I think we're targeting October.
Okay.
For an opening.
As far as the resident gate, the entry-exit gate, when would you say the time frame of that looks like to you?
Well, I think that most likely right around the same time period. I mean, we've got a presentation that we need to make, and when that happens, the longest lead item on that is 14 weeks, I think, and that one there should be fairly uncomplicated to put together.
Okay, and then the big project where we sit now, the Island Club, the pool, etc. I know we're working on the plans now. You've started hiring surveys and such to go ahead.
Yes.
And what is your time frame? What is the committee's time frame? Because I know John and Fells and Ron Kettles are chairing that committee.
Yeah.
What's your guesstimate for this? And give us a little bit more of the ideas of what will take place at the Island Pool and the Island Club.
Okay, so from a timing perspective, it looks like 2022 is a target date to start. And again, we're revisiting those master plans with the architects, right? But as the community gave us feedback towards, it's to start with the pool, drive a really great resort type pool experience with improved food and beverage and the right water features, and then to do the right things with this building to support membership events, private events, and so on and so forth, but also give us the flexibility to, for example, in the ballroom, to have it multi-purpose so that it could serve fitness, or it could serve food and beverage, or it could serve private parties or other things. Basically giving us a lot more latitude and flexibility in the types of events that we could have.
All right, but I want to go back to the pool. Let's take one step at a time, if you may. You mentioned the pool area, which to me, and I understand, was one of the most critical components of the renovation.
Yes.
Specifically, get me a little bit more involved. Walk me through what you think is going to happen when I come across the bridge. What am I going to expect when I get there?
Okay. Well, one of the things that our members have always expressed concern is about security. So you'll be greeted by somebody with a towel. They'll check you in and your guests in to make sure that you're members or residents. And then from that point, you'll be escorted to your chair. But we expect that service on the pool, the seating will be a combination of chase lounges and different types of seating types. And there will be service there for food and beverage, as well as areas that are designated for seated dining. And so on the pool deck, the existing bar and the existing kitchen will be expanded and or separated, so where you might have a separate bar at a different location that has an incredible view, and you can sit around the bar so you're just not staring at the wall, looking at a TV. But we recognize that the kitchen that we have out there is inadequate for the size of the membership and the volume that we do. So one of the key features is to make sure that we expand the kitchen properly on the deck, so that we can service people in a reasonable amount of time. We would have other areas on the pool deck that when we have social events out there or member events out there, that if we wanted to roll a grill or portable pizza oven or things of that nature, that we would have the ability to do that. We're also looking into the fact of what it is that we can do with the existing pool so we could add features that would be attractive to families. You know, right now there's not a shallow area. Maybe a little part of the pool can be carved out to where it's shallow water, have some sprinkling in it, and so on and so forth. We also the committee likes the feature that there's the sound of running water that's calming. It's enjoyable to people when they're dining. Maybe some people think it drowns out the voices of kids having fun. But all of these modern features, even potentially a little fire pit and a lounging area around it, it will dramatically change the way the pool looks and update it into the expectations of people for their lifestyle today.
So what I'm hearing then is you're going to have a brand new snack bar, food and beverage outlet.
Yep.
You're going to have a tiki bar effect where you could sit around the bar, have drinks, cocktails, frozen drinks.
Yep.
You'll have service at the salon, at the chaise lounges where people are laying. You'll have expanded pool facilities where you're going to have a kiddie park, little shallow areas. You'll have pits, you'll have social areas, and you'll have additional seating, I understand. We're looking to increase it by at least 50 to 60 new chaise lounge areas, so we'll have more seating for the area.
Right.
My understanding is we're going to create a very beautiful ambience upstairs on the deck, so you can either dine down by the pool or you can dine up on these various levels at certain days as well. So is that all part and parcel of what we're talking about?
Yeah, and as we move off of the pool deck, right, one of the most important things is the interaction of this piano bar that we're in and that outside deck with the pool. And so if you're familiar with accordion doors and things of that nature, the right times of the year, the doors here, or the walls here would all be open and create a true outside-inside experience. Mm-hmm. And so this part overlooking the pool will be able to be kind of integrated with the pool with that kind of an experience, and we'll be able to serve them food and beverage as well. And in addition, the new location, or the proposed new location of a bar, the bar would also have an inside-outside element. So there's a patio off the bar, half the bar is inside. When you open it, you have the bar and the bar deck outside too, so it creates a nice overlook and brings the pool in, or brings that into the pool, or vice versa. And so it creates a little bit different than a bathing suit dining experience, but you can still enjoy the ambiance of the area. And I think especially in season, you know, it gets dark at 5 o'clock. And so after clock in that area overlooking the pool, the lighting in the pool, and hearing the water, I think that's going to be an especially attractive area for our residents.
Well, it sounds very exciting. And just to remind all the residents, because I don't know if they remember, when we did the refinancing and handle the financing for the island not too long ago, one of the provisions we made sure we had was the funding to do exactly what Steve has just talked about. So none of what we talked about just now, none of these new ideas, the expansions, the front gate, the resident gate, the deli, or this whole area will necessitate any kind of assessment whatsoever. We have all of these monies put aside, earmarked for all of the capital improvements, because the board very smartly provided in the loan that we would have funds to do this without any further burden to the residents. And as it's turned out with the pandemic going on, it's proven to be very valuable to us. So I want you to understand, with everything we've heard here about all our capital improvements, none of this will change your dues at all, nor will it necessitate any kind of assessments. So Stephanie, what kind of questions do we have for Steve that you hear from people? Because now comes the tough questions, Steve.
It's
Just
okay.
letting you know that.
That's our day-to-day reality.
There you are.
Okay, well, one of the questions is on the shuttle service. The shuttle service is operating every day. That's a question right now, and they have to wear the face masks on the shuttle service. So that's a question that has come up.
Yeah. Yeah, so I want to thank the residents for wearing their face masks. I've checked with the drivers, and they say that everybody's cooperating. And just so you know, almost every hour the drivers pull over and they do sanitize the vans, okay? And the shuttle service is every day, Monday through Friday, and then, Monday through Saturday, and then we have reduced hours on Sunday because food and beverage is closed. So we are up to a full schedule at this point. We have our staff back, they've all been tested, and the normal shuttle operations until after the restaurant closes at 10 o'clock, and bringing you to the spa at 7 a.m. in the morning have all been reinstated.
Another question that I had was from members asking how the social distancing is going in the spa and in the gym area.
Well, I'm glad that you asked that, really, because I'm going to take that and I'm going to expand just a little bit past the spa. I think the social distancing in the spa is working well. The social distancing in the restaurant is working well, although we've had to remind people that you have to wear your mask when you come to the table. And the tendency is, and it's a natural tendency, of course, because many of you haven't seen each other in months. And so everybody wants to get up and go visit another table. And so we're having to remind people, put your mask on, if you're going to do that, but we prefer that you not do that at all. And so it's hard to do, but it's necessary at this point. And in the spa, the thing that we are trying to remind people to do is they've been great about wearing the masks until they get to the area, whether it's the spin area or the cardio area, and then they're in that area working out. But if they have to go get water or if they have to go to the bathroom, sometimes they're not putting the masks on when they do that. And so the general rule of thumb, and even here at the pool, when you get off of a Chase Lounge to go to the restroom, is put your mask back on. And even I forget sometimes when I run from my office to upstairs to say something to staff to do my mask, and then I'm walking around like this and then the staff is laughing at me. It's a new habit that has to be formed, and we're not mad at anybody. We're just reminding you that that's something that's going to help all of us, because our first priority is your safety and security.
Did you have another question, Bob?
Nope, go ahead.
Or Steve? Okay. One of the other questions was on the new normal. We've sent out to the buildings a copy of the new normal that the county has provided, because one of the questions people want to know about the children's playground, but part of the new normal guide is it's color coded, and the children's playground, they are just not open per the new normal document. So it's not so much a Williams Island, because we get a lot of calls thinking that we're not opening the playground, but per the county, we're not allowed to at this time.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question, and there remains confusion about that. And in talking to the residents, I keep trying to explain that there's a priority. It's state, county, and city. And even when it filters down to the city can be more restrictive, and even we can be more restrictive than what the state or the county mandates, okay? And so playgrounds are still shut down. So it's a mandated rule. It's part of the emergency order. As far as dog parks are concerned, dog parks are open, but your dogs still have to remain on a leash. And we do appreciate when you're walking around the community that you clean up after your dog, right? That doesn't make anybody's day when there's an accident there. So thank you for everybody that's doing that. And then, finally, I guess it was a week ago Monday, after we kept beating up about why can people play singles versus doubles, that happened, and now we have doubles. And I have to thank the members for doing a good job of spraying down the furniture that we replaced at all of the tennis kiosks. And I think in Robert's session with you, one of the things that I wanted to reinforce that he said is that we're really trying to get back to normal in the tennis shop. And so when we put in the grab and go, please be mindful of who's in the shop. And when you go to the restroom in the shop, put your face mask back on, and then just be patient and respectful of other people that might want to grab a sandwich versus you're shopping for clothes. But all of those things, are part of the ongoing social distancing. And as we all know, we in Miami-Dade are the area that was the last to get into phase 2, and right now with the advent of a mini spike again, there's a concern. So everything each of us does every day to make the environment here safer and following these policies is just vitally important at this time.
And I'm going to ask one question that's a new question that came today from Med Village about voting. The Island Club, this room is actually a voting precinct, and we have a couple big elections. So we have the primaries in August, and then we have the main presidential election and local elections in November. So is this still a polling place with everything happening?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that, because I have gotten a number of questions about it. And so About 2 weeks ago, I re-signed and resubmitted and recommitted that we would not only be the polling place, but the voting place. I wish I'd have known the question because I would have brought the dates for you, but yes, and absolutely yes. The only thing between now and then we're going to have to figure out is we have traditionally provided some snacks and beverages, and we may not be able to do that this time around. But yes, this is still for our precinct, both for the elections.
I know the primary is August 13th, and it's just for Williams Island residents.
Yes.
It's not an open, we're not an early voting, so it's
Yeah.
just for Williams Island residents for the main voting day, and then the main election is the first Tuesday in November
Yeah.
that we have.
So that's a great benefit for our residents.
Mm-hmm. So, as you can see, in the day of the life of Steve, between running the island and planning for the future, I thank you so much because what you've done is above and beyond remarkable. And I don't think anybody but a few handful have any idea what it takes to run this island. And, I used to say you're the glue of the island, but I think really Stephanie is more the glue than you and I are. She gets all the calls, she gets all the pressure, she makes sure that everything is sent out on time. The communications have been absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to thank you, Stephanie, for what you do, coming up with these questions and becoming the hostess for us of the little Williams Island TV show. But most importantly, I can't thank the board of directors enough because I will tell you something that even so we haven't been able to have public meetings, we have meetings almost weekly. We have Zoom meetings, we discuss, we have individual meetings. As an example, we just had our pre-audit meeting, and I'm very proud to say it was a beautifully clean audit. Everything came out as we would hope it would, and I want to thank Thomas for that, our new CFO, because he did an amazing job for us in that to handle it. But these are the kind of things the island doesn't see, that in spite of everything that's going on, our staff, our board of directors have been so supportive to make sure that the residents come first on everything. And Steve, I want to thank you. Stephanie, I want to thank you so much for what you do. And I want to thank all of you out there for just adhering to the rules. I know it's not always easy, but it's for all of our sakes. And hopefully we'll see you next week and we'll have more good news to tell you. And I want to thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon.
And if I could, Bob,
Please.
I just have one thing to add.
Anything.
I think you thanked everybody, and I want to thank you on behalf of everybody for all that you've done. And importantly, I want to wish you a happy upcoming Father's Day and all the fathers out there in our community. I hope you have a great Father's Day this weekend.